Welcome back to the road to the UFA. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. Trying something a little new with the transitions. Just gonna have a little fun with it. This first piece of footage here is from a couple weeks ago, which is me running to the location of my old elementary school, which was turned into some apartments. I went to Corbett Elementary School, so I went for a run. It was about 3.5 miles away, and I ran down to the Corbett Apartments, and like the different streets are like English Lane and Math Lane and Teacher Lane, and it's kind of a funny, interesting little thing. Yeah, funny how things change. So here's some footage of me a couple days later going for a climb. Definitely cheated a little bit on one or two of those moves, but I've been getting into climbing more, try to improve my overall strength and my stamina, my strength, and my hand strength specifically. Also my core strength, and a lot of cool things that climbing works out and strengthens, and it's just also it's just a lot of fun, good challenge. Um, Here's some footage of me at work. One of the main reasons I haven't uploaded anything in the last couple of months is because I've been very busy with work, working about I think about 47 hours a week. Um, maybe a little bit more, as well as coaching. Still coaching the college kids. So the footage you just watched was some footage of me at the school I work at in one of the last few days. I like to throw with some of the kids at the end of chess club that I run. I run a morning tutoring and an after school tutoring. And after, before we dismiss the kids, I like to let them outside to play for a little bit, get some sunshine, move their bodies a little bit. When some of the kids like to throw, so I go out and throw, and I appreciate the opportunity to throw with some of those kids, and some of my previous students appreciate them, and hopefully they enjoyed it enough to maybe get into frisbee one day. That'd be pretty cool. The footage you're watching right now is some footage of me at the going for a walk near my house. It's a really nice little place with some sidewalks and some nice grass that I like to take Benny. And as I go out and walk, because I'm so busy, I kind of have to find my time to work out, and I kind of try to squeeze it in here and there, and in the classroom with the kids a little bit, going for a walk. So here's some footage of that. I call it just like the gym of life. You're out in the world and you can just do little workouts as you go. It doesn't all have to be, at one time, and it doesn't all have to be at one place. You can treat the world like your gym and do some oh gosh, what do you call these? Man, I can't remember the name, but these are some nice little squats that strengthen your knee, and there's all sorts of stuff you can do out in the world, and it's kind of the lesson here. Another thing that I've been busy with, and it's been hard to find time to record and edit footage and stuff, is taking care of my dog Benny, who we see here as I do some squats, going for a nice walk. Sadly, this was one of the last times I got to hang out with my buddy, because a few days after this, I had to put him down. Discovered he had mouth cancer. So, R.I.P. buddy. We love you. We miss you. And it feels kind of pretentious to be making a video like this. Well, stuff like that happens, but this is a commitment I've made, to myself and to better myself. And I think the whole last couple months while I was out, living life and being busy and making money and working and coaching and cleaning my house and all sorts of other things, this was in the back of my mind is something that I wanted to do, and something I knew that I would continue to do. I just really didn't have the time for it until about a couple weeks ago. I started doing some videos. Had some time to take a video here and there, and as the school year winded down, with Thanksgiving break, with winter break as well as the last few weeks are not, the academics got to wind down a little bit, and finally had some time to make some videos, and I'm glad to be able to make this video here. I'm gonna sign up here in a day or two for a couple different tryouts for the bighorns as well as for the growlers. Here's some footage of me at the park tossing with my roommate. Shout out Walker. Hope he's doing well. Hopefully he watches this video while he's in Kansas. Hope you're having a nice time with your family, brother. Here's some footage of me throwing. This is kind of the first time I threw in a while. Coaching, I throw a little bit here and there, but I'm mostly watching and talking to people. And, Sonoran Dog has been over for a couple months now, and I haven't had too many opportunities to throw, so I went out and I threw, and I felt super rusty when I was throwing with him. But, that's kind of how it goes. You got to shake off the rust a little bit, get back into it, and not put too much significance into it. And, I know that the work that I've been doing and the work that I will do, I'm going to be ready to go and ready to kick ass in all aspects of my game. Pardon the French. One thing that kind of messes around with my training around this time of the year is on my birthday, January 1st, which is actually tomorrow. Today's Wednesday, December 31st, and tomorrow is January 1st, 2026. I'm going to run a half marathon on my birthday. That's something I've been doing for the last couple of years. Just a way to challenge yourself, to start the new year off right. And when I was a kid, I always thought it was kind of weird that we would, celebrate our birthdays by laying around and not doing very much and eating a bunch of food and, feeling like, sometimes you eat a bunch of cake and you feel like crap and you'd be like, man, it's my birthday. I'm supposed to be feeling good and celebrating. I'm just sitting here lethargic watching a movie, feeling like crap, with a belly full of chocolate cake and whatever else you had for your birthday. Anyways, I'm going to go for a run on my birthday like I always do and have some fun. And this video right here is actually me training a little bit for that. The footage towards the start of the video as well, where I ran to my former elementary school, was also some training. I've undertrained a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. This year I've kind of focused a lot on trying to balance things out and do a little bit of training for the UFA, a little bit of training for this half marathon that's coming up. But there was some footage of me training for that. Fun run in the sun. This is my Strava, if anyone wants to follow me on Strava. This is, so like I was saying, I was trying to balance my UFA work as well as my half marathon. So here's some footage. Wish I'd gotten a bit more footage with the boys, but some footage of me training with Ethan and Chris and Asher as well. Shout out those boys for getting out and getting some work in. That was me weighing myself before I went to Bakersfield. The next shot was my mother and I going to work out. I worked out 2 times while I was in Bakersfield. And so I went to visit my parents for Christmas. I drove on Christmas Day, which I highly recommend because the roads are really clear and you can just kind of take it easy and cruise, and you don't really hit any traffic. And should have left a little bit earlier, but it was nice to go and see my family for Christmas and for a couple of days after that. Ate a bunch of food, worked out, slept a lot, hung out with them. It was nice to hang out with them and their dogs and spend some time with family, after having to say goodbye to Benny. So I love my folks, love you mom, love you dad. I got a little bit of footage while I was over there of some workouts that I did, some bench press, some Smith machine, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Tried to work out my calves. My mom, when she goes and works out, does like about an hour workout, maybe a little bit less, 15 minutes every single time, and then she's like, all right, I'm good. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let's, we'll get out of here. I mean, I could spend some more time, but she has her routine, and I don't want to make her sit around while I do a bunch of stuff. So, I worked out a couple of times while I was there. I ran their dogs around the neighborhood a little bit. Um, Helped out around the house. Helped out with some construction. Here's my mom crushing some Smith squat. She's a beast. She's like 69 years old, and she's kicking ass, taking names. She just, while I was visiting, she was doing some gardening, and she's like, I want to go check out my sweet potatoes. And then 2 hours later, she came back in, and she's like, hey, I got four buckets full of sweet potatoes. And I was like, 4 buckets? And she's like, yeah, I got 4 5-gallon buckets full of sweet potatoes. And she's pulling out sweet potatoes like, bigger than her head out of these buckets. And I'm like, what the hell? So now I got a bunch of sweet potatoes that I gotta cook up and eat, which is awesome. But anyways, moral of the story is my mom is kicking ass and taking names, working out. I tried to Smith squat a little bit and I hurt my shoulders, and so I dropped the weight and still kind of hurt my shoulders a bit, but got some work in. Even though I ate a lot of food while I was at my parents' house, one of the things that really helped me to not gain a bunch of weight was Costco. Got some turkey from Costco, and that really helped. Got back to town. I was 184. So this is a little pre-marathon run that I did. DSBR is Dylan South's birthday run. So that is a little shakeout that I did, and some food that I ate afterwards. Some bison, as well as some bacon and some onions and garlic. Like I said, I didn't really lose too much weight when I got back to Tucson. Shout out turkey. Not quite at the weight that I want to be for the tryouts, but I have a few weeks to go, and it's not too hard for me to trim down, cut down a little bit, and continue to try to build some muscle in certain areas. Once the half marathon stuff is over and I've recovered, I'm going to mostly spend my time sprinting, accelerating, and doing kind of field work. That I'm also going to try to lose a couple pounds and try to throw every day. Those are sort of my pre-tryout goals. Speaking of throwing every day, here's some footage of me just about an hour ago at the park near my house. Spent about half an hour throwing. Yesterday I was on my Instagram and I saw AJ Merriman, a really excellent frisbee player all around, and he was posting on his Instagram like 600 throws. That was like 2 days ago. It said 600 throws, and then yesterday it said 1,000 throws. And I'm like, man, I got to get my game up. I got to step it up and start getting out and throwing some more. So I went out and threw for about half an hour. I didn't count all my throws. If I had more discs or another person to throw it, I definitely could have thrown a little bit more, but I probably threw about 100 or so throws, focusing on all sorts of different stuff, and starting off with just some light easy throws. Then I start to add some angles. Then I start to add some pivoting and some motion. Imagining there's a mark and imagining there's a force. That kind of really helps sometimes to focus on the throws that I want. Working on some lefties, worked on some high releases, worked on some hucks. Just sort of trying to work on everything that I have. Before tryouts is not really the time, in my opinion, to add anything new to your game or to do anything too different from your routine. That's some advice that I've heard from, some wise people, Tobu Fitness, as well as other people. You don't really want to be adding a bunch of weight to your workouts or trying some new thing, some new way of working out. Stick to what you've been doing. Don't try to add anything new. Take care of your body. Those are sort of all my goals in the next couple of weeks as I get ready for tryouts. So in the coming weeks, expect another video before tryouts. expect a video about each tryout that I went to. Hopefully I'll get some footage. And yeah, thank you for watching. To those of you who, I know personally who watch these videos, thank you for your support over the last couple weeks and for helping me stay motivated and stay focused and stay hungry, for helping me stay driven and disciplined. Thank you to all those people, and you know who you are if you're one of those people. And yeah, this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. See you guys in a couple weeks.